Hi, and welcome to Pacifica Online. I'm Laura Lee Scott, and I want to thank you for joining us today for this preview of the upcoming online weekend, The Inner Work of Age, Becoming a Good Ancestor, that will be happening December 2nd through the 4th. Based on the award-winning book by Connie Zweig, The Inner Work of Age, Moving from Role to Soul, this weekend is going to feature an incredible lineup of world-renowned thought leaders, therapists, authors, psychologists, and more. I'm thrilled to welcome Connie Zweig, Dennis Slattery, and Jean Shinoda-Bolin, all of whom will be participating in this weekend, and they're here to tell us more about this incredible, amazing program based on Connie's work. So Connie, welcome, and thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Laura Lee, and thanks for Pacifica hosting this event, which is backed by popular demand because we did this last year and had such a wonderful response. And I believe that's because so many of us now are moving into the archetype of the elder, but we don't have any guidance. We don't have any rites of passage. Some of us don't even have models as elders. And so we're looking for guidance from depth psychology in order to enable us to look within and reorient ourselves at this stage of life. And that was my experience as I went into my late 60s, and I know it's the experience of millions of other people. So the conference this year, December 2nd through 4th, is going to be very different from last year. This year, it's different themes. The first day is about the vision of shifting from a midlife hero and heroine to a wise elder. And Jean Bolin, who I'll introduce in a moment, is going to explore the archetype of the crone. And Dennis Slattery is going to teach us about aging as a hero's journey. And then day 2 is about the inner work of age and the promise of a late Renaissance. And the keynote for that day is integral philosopher Ken Wilber, who's going to teach us about growing up, emotional work, cleaning up, shadow work, waking up, spiritual development, and showing up in the world to contribute our resources and our wisdom and our gifts as elders. And then day 3 is about the legacy and becoming a good ancestor. And the keynote for that day is Bill McKibben, the founder of 350.org, and the newer group, Third Act, which is specifically for elders and how we can engage the climate crisis. And on each day, as Laura Lee said, there will be many other presenters in a rich array of themes. And you can get CEUs as well. So let me take a moment now and introduce Jean Shinoda-Bolin, one of my mentors through her books, her wonderful books. Jean is a psychiatrist and a Jungian analyst, and the author of many books I'm sure you know well: Goddesses in Every Woman, Gods in Every Man, The Tao of Psychology. And for our subject matter, she's the author of Goddesses in Older Women and Crones Don't Whine. So Jean, if you would, just give us a moment about your presentation on day 1 of the conference.
Well, one of the first things I think about doing is adding an adjective to the word crone, and the word that I happen to add to the word crone is juicy. How to be a juicy crone, because when you think about, oh, she's a crone or he's a crone, because sometimes men are called crones these days too, you get an impression of a really old, decrepit person. Well, that's not how it is. When you grow into the 3rd phase of your life, when you're postmenopausal and you are now your own person in ways that you might not have been before, because in your role in a family, in a marriage, in your teaching roles or something, so much of your day is spent doing what these roles require of you. Once you get to a certain age and you also have a certain level of privilege meaning independence. I don't know how many people that applies to, but I would imagine that those people who are listening to this particular workshop have both mind and time and economics to think about what they are going to do with their life when they are already or approaching being crones. And a juicy crone is someone who has not just the wise part of person. I mean, you live long enough, you learn, hopefully you learn from experience. So there's a certain level of wisdom. There's a certain level of loss and creativity. But what happens is also the potential of coming alive inside yourself. So you're not just a crone. You're a person that has an inner child who wants to go and have an adventure. There's a person that has an adult that's responsible and takes responsibility. And then there is that crone who has learned from experience and passes it on. So that would be my kind of sense of what it means to talk in this particular conference. It's really about being a juicy crone. And I have outlived a number of contemporaries. And with that in mind, I have had a sense also of the invisible world of the transition once you leave your bodies. And then there's the idea of holding a sort of an inner conference with those on the other side who left this world, the body world. Anyway, there's not only a possibility of juiciness and being your own original person, but the other is potential to metaphorically or actually start to be in contact and have a sense of what might happen next.
Beautiful. I love that. It's really a reimagining of the archetype of the crone in the context of the new longevity and all of the emotional and spiritual work that people are doing in this stage of life. And what I call the shift from role to soul. So if there's a connection in older women to the life of the soul and the life of ancestors and the life of future generations, then this is not an ageist stereotype of an old woman or an old man. So I love that, Jean. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing more about it. Yes. Okay, Dennis. So Dr. Dennis Slattery has been teaching in Pacifica's mythology program for 27 years, and he's now a distinguished professor emeritus. He's also author, co-author, and editor of more than 30 books, including his recent title, Deep Creativity, 7 Ways to Spark Our Creative Spirit, with 2 co-authors. And if that's not enough, Dennis loves to paint and ride his Harley Davidson around Texas. So Dennis, give us a little bit of a hint about aging as a hero's journey.
Yes. Well, first of all, Connie, I want to thank you for the invitation. And what an honor it is to be with you 3 today. And then when the conference begins, to be with these international voices. So it really is a humbling experience for me. And I'm just, I'm honored. Several years ago, when I was reading Jung's Dream Seminar, 1928 to 1930, which was transcribed, as you know, and in a discussion with, I think, 2 other analysts, Jung is making a reference to the rhythms of nature and how spiralic the natural order is. And then he says this that has stuck with me and really shifted and is the bedrock, I think, for my presentation. He says, all psychic development is spiralic. We are always folding back on ourselves to reach a place that we once were, but we can never land where we were. We land a little bit above or a little bit below. And I thought, yes, Carl, you're right, but I think we can get back into the neighborhood if we can't get back into the house. And I thought, I wonder how that spiralic geometry might, I don't know, amplify, add to Joseph Campbell's circle, because it feels to me that the process of aging, and when I present in December, I will have crossed the threshold of my 78th year. So I'm really feeling the biology and the psychology of all of this. But I want to substitute the mystery of the spiral over the circle that houses the stages of the hero's journey. And on the spiral, I want to highlight what I'm calling nodal moments that seem to typify the pilgrimage from age to sage, from growing old to growing bold, from detecting wrinkles to celebrating wonders, especially of the ordinary. So it's not an attitude of being retired, but I think more a vibrant one of being re-inspired. And I think there's joy in our aging to be re-inspired. It's a joyful time. And I know I'm echoing a bit of what Jean has just beautifully told us about her presentation. I also think that our personal myth begins to take on different textures and contours in our eldering. It offers a new way, or new ways perhaps, of assisting us in making transitions from one nodal moment to another. So a living organic myth gives us pliability, not rigidity, coherence, not roiling chaos, and a field of meaning rather than a chorus of distractions. I'm also thinking a lot about memory and its growing limitations. But I also want to advocate that that slippage of memory also offers an opportunity to be present to the ordinary things of everyday life in a way that I know that I have never been until the last several years, let's say. So a nodal moment is being more comfortable with uncertainty and with the unexpected as a form of the unseen and the unforeseen. And I'll finish here. A nodal moment occurs in recognizing that a certain quantity of energy accompanies each day. It has made me more vigilant, more conscious of how I truly want to expend that energy creatively. And I think finally, eldering opens up a life of RE. And let me name a couple: rethinking, revisiting, reviewing, reformatting, reflecting, restricting, rezoning areas of one's life. So the re's are less nostalgic deflections, and I'm beginning to see they're more a deepening into what was only understood on its surfaces in previous years. So that's a composite, if you will, of what I hope to play with.
Beautiful, many components of the inner world of aging. And it sounds like these re's are part of the spiral dynamic.
Yes.
Because when we rethink, redo, reimagine, review, we're not on a linear developmental path, but we're spiraling around to a new stage of awareness. And if we've been doing our inner work with depth psychology and with spiritual practice, then we land at a different place on the spiral to revise our lives and to reimagine aging, which is really the theme of the conference.
Yeah, beautiful, Connie.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Laura Lee. Oh, you're muted, Laura Lee.
I am ready for the conference to happen right now, just after listening to Jean and to Dennis, Connie, to you, because Connie, you said it beautifully. I think, you know, what we're hearing is a incredibly creative and deep reimagining of the aging process that your work has constellated, that Jean is doing, that Dennis is doing. Being a newly inducted grandmother, I am, you know, the proud grandmother of a brilliant 2-year-old who, Dennis, you touched on this, is reminding me every time I'm with him of a reconnection to wonder, which is, I think, part of where you were going with this, right? That reconnection. I think of Heschel's book, I Asked for Wonder. So both of your presentations, Connie, what you're going to be sharing, and this is for those of you listening to this preview, this is only the appetizer, right? This is just a taste of the kinds of conversations that will be happening December 2nd through the 4th, from Friday through Sunday, early afternoon. So I encourage you to go to the Pacifica Retreat website, watch your inbox. We will be sending out information about this, and you can register easily. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. And whatever you do, save those dates, December 2nd through the 4th, to come together in an incredible community gathered around this inner work of age, becoming a good ancestor. So Connie, Dennis, and Jean, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
we
you.
hope to see you there.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. What a fun time to be with you.